What's Noi? I'm your host, Justin Jones. In this video series, we're keeping it simple. Quick conversations, fresh perspectives, and a look at what's really going on inside NeuGroup. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Alyssa McArdle, our Chief Experience Officer, who has a wealth of experience in everything from newspaper writing to shaping how members engage with NeuGroup. Alyssa, thanks for joining us on the show.
Hey, Justin. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you're doing well. So I want to get into some of your career path and how you ended up at NeuGroup. But first, let's talk about some of the changes coming to members in the second half of our meeting cycle and how things are going to shake up for them.
Yeah. So we are really, pushing to optimize, the member experience in 2026 and beyond. At the start of the year, Joseph kind of framed a new vision for NeuGroup going forward, and that he really wanted to push beyond just discussions and networking into really helping members achieve results and to reach real outcomes. And so that's kind of been a philosophy that has driven us throughout the year. It's kind of informed our programming for in-person and virtual events. It has driven some new content types and as well as these new execution sprints that we are doing, which are kind of small group projects, helping members solve a problem or create at least a framework to solve a problem. We wanted to move beyond just creating great but discrete moments and create more of a through line and a continuum. And so you'll come to our meeting in March and discuss a problem, and come back in October and discuss another problem. And instead of that, we wanted to help drive members to push the needle in between sessions.
People always say that their favorite part of coming to NeuGroup meetings is getting to interact with and sort of almost have a group therapy experience where they talk about a shared problem. What does it look like for NeuGroup to help drive them toward a solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So we changed, projects and priorities has always been kind of a favorite member session in our peer group meetings. And we reframed it a bit this half, keeping obviously, what members love, but just kind of pushing it a little bit farther. And so instead of just saying, hey, what's the top priority? What are you struggling with? We kind of said, hey, tell us the one thing that you want to solve, in the next 6 months, and what your blockers are. And then is anyone else in this room experiencing a similar challenge? And then has anyone in this room kind of solved a challenge like that? And so we've kind of paired people up or made small groups to kind of solve some of this. And the idea is that they'll get together once, twice, 3 times and kind of group think and come together with this kind of a not a think tank but a do tank and come up with some sort of solution or framework, and then kind of bring that back to the H2 meeting and kind of present on their progress.
How are you able to sort of know what is on members' minds? What's our approach to knowing that they're open to and wanting these kinds of changes?
Yes, no, that's a really good question, because it's one thing for us to ideate and come up with our theories in a vacuum, but it really doesn't matter if it's not what members care about. We did our first ever member signal survey at the beginning of the year. And this was, just a check-in with all of our primary contacts at each member company. What's working for you at NeuGroup? What isn't? Where are you struggling? What could we help more with? And it was really, really beneficial. First of all, we wanted to kind of gut check this kind of new philosophy of pushing for outcomes. And secondly, we, we're going to build out this brand new member platform. And we wanted to use some of this info and intel to kind of inform that build. So it was great because it was instantly validating that this push towards outcomes is something that members are asking for. Literally, we in verbatim in the survey results, help me, get things done in between meeting cycles, and a better understanding of all that NeuGroup offers. And that was clearly missing, and a piece that we weren't aware was missing. When you live in the NeuGroup world, you feel very aware of everything that we're doing, all of our meetings, all of our content. But from the member perspective, we were kind of missing the fact that they weren't feeling like they had a full sense of that scope. So we tried to solve for that in the build out of NeuGroup Connect too.
So can you tell me a bit more about NeuGroup Connect then? We have an app now, and the website has sort of changed to be a one-stop shop, right?
Yes. So we have, it's kind of our all-in-one member ecosystem. First of all, it's taken, we used to have 3 different platforms, one for event registration, one for content research on our website, and then a separate forum for member discussions. And this has put all of that in one place. So it's super user-friendly. You just type in your email, you get sent a magic link. It's one and done, you're on there. There's a couple of short onboarding questions that just kind of ask again, what you're working on, where you need help, how you'd like to be helped. And then you're up and running. You can register for events. You appear as a member in your peer groups that you're a member of. And then you can also have access to tools like our AI Workbench, which is a member-only platform, and it shows all the use cases your peers are doing. And if you see one on there and you're like, I need to know who did this, we have all the info on the back end, so we can help make that connection. But I highly recommend folks check out the Workbench. And the other thing that I kind of buried the lead on, you mentioned, and it puts it all in the members' pockets too, because there's an app now, and we've been wanting a NeuGroup app for a long, long time, and we finally have it. So it's the same services available on the desktop version, but you can do your event registration, you can chat a member, you can read a piece of content, all there on your app too.
And I have to have a shameless plug, because the NeuGroup Insights articles are on Connect, and our new guides, which are downloadable PDFs that are members only. So as we look ahead to the second half of events, are there any of these changes that are actually coming to the way events are being planned?
We rolled out event weeks last half, or I guess last year now, where we were trying to kind of align events in the same geography so that members could attend more than one, just make it a little bit easier for them when they get invited to multiple events that they'd like to attend. I think Zander talked a little bit about that on
Definitely
your chat with her. Yeah. And we're continuing to do that. And we're seeing, great results of members, being able to take one less barrier away for traveling to events. We're also pushing for some more family-friendly events. We're doing 2 events, our Mega Cap Treasures and our Life Science Treasure meetings at Regeneron. And that's in Sleepy Hollow, New York. And we're doing it in October, which is spooky season. And they have this great Halloween event called The Blaze. And so we're encouraging members to come out to that, bring their families, bring their kids. We want members to bring like their whole selves to NeuGroup, and we want to know them, and we want to know, their whole world. And we also want to remove another barrier to attending.
So you've grown through NeuGroup from the event side now to Chief Experience Officer. How do you wrap your mind around a role that touches pretty much everything NeuGroup does, from events to peer groups to content and research?
Yeah, it's a big job. But the great thing is, we're already doing so much of it. It's all about like what value we're driving to members. It's just making sure that we are doing that in, an organized fashion, that everyone knows what other folks are working on, keeping us all aligned. And I think the most important thing is just to approach everything we do, whether it's a piece of content or an event or, a peer group meeting, with through the lens of member first. I think member first mentality should drive everything we do. And so that's something I really try to bring to each of the teams, is just stay hyper focused, obsessively focused on, is this right for the member? Is this bringing them value?
And there's this book that you've shared with some of your coworkers at NeuGroup that helps to drive your sort of member focus, which is Unreasonable Hospitality, which you came across, I think, in part of one of your fine dining stops in your career. Can you share a bit of what you've shared with us at NeuGroup on how limitless hospitality sort of makes a difference?
Absolutely. So I love this book, and I did a lunch and learn at NeuGroup. I shoved this book down everyone's throat, and I say, and regardless of what field you're in, there will be a lesson in it for you. Because it just talks about, there's the old adage of, people won't remember what you do or what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think that is so true. And, we are in the hospitality business. We are here to, deliver value to our members, to make them feel known, to make them feel understood, and to help improve their lives. So, the way that the book frames things is just like, be wild, get creative. Don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself, push the envelope. And if you're doing it, again, with your guest in mind, your guest first mentality, then you won't go wrong.
And on that note, for this episode's fun final question, power rank like the top hospitality experiences you've had.
So what tops the list, I would say, is Alinea in Chicago. I did the full experience, 24 courses with wine pairing, and, everything was incredible, impeccable. But what struck me was just how warm the service was. I was like, wow, you can be world-class, 5 diamond, and still be familiar and crack jokes and make you feel like at home. And I was just blown away. I was kind of expecting very stiff, like stuffy, butler-esque service. Another little small item is, back to like the attention to detail. I had an overnight stay at a beautiful property in California, one of our tech summits. And I came back to the room after a really, really long day, and I'd left, stuff thrown about the room. And one of the things was like my phone charger that was all tangled in a mess. I was like, I'll deal with that later. And I come back and like turn down service had happened, and my phone charger was wrapped in this lovely little like leather coil with a bow on it, like laying on my bed. And I was like, I've never felt more cared for. And so it's like those little details that make such a difference. And and you remember those 3 years ago, and I still think about that. So those are kind of a big level and a small level example of kind of outstanding service.
Well, in the H2 meeting season, which starts here in the next few weeks, I'm looking forward to seeing these lessons applied in action.
Yes, likewise. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the road and all of our members.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Alyssa.
Thanks for having me, Justin.